Chapter 029 by a hairbreadth. The battle of magical treasures between the demon disciple and the immortal disciple was intensely brutal yet breathtakingly spectacular. Once the victor was decided, the loser would die instantly. It was an extremely perilous situation, with life and death separated by only the thinnest line. Both the Hongfen demon sect of the 7 demon lineages and the Yuhua sect of the 10 immortal gates were super major sects that dominated all under heaven. Their disciples owned no small number of spiritual artifacts, nothing like those tiny obscure sects that could only scrape together one magical artifact to keep up appearances. Senior Sister M.O. had already unleashed her killing move, the Sun Chicken Supreme Yang Rope, ready to strike down Hongfen Taizi and claim an unparalleled great achievement. But no one had expected that Hongfen Taizi would also have a trump card of his own. 6 Desires Ying Thunder. 6 Desires Ying Thunder was neither a common magical tool, nor a spiritual artifact, nor even a top-tier precious treasure. It was a one-time insidious poison item, refined by several of the Hongfen demon sect's most renowned grand elders through supreme divine power. Each Ying Thunder required the resentment and souls of thousands of people, nurtured for decades in the darkest depths of the earth, absorbing the power of countless poisons, then fused with heaven's Yin-Yang lightning, harmonized and condensed into a pellet. When a Ying Thunder was thrown and exploded, it would burst forth 10,000 streams of red mist and thousands of demon shadows. It would render any enemy's spiritual artifacts completely ineffective, corrupting the magic power within, severing the blood-spirit bond between the cultivator and their treasure, leaving the cultivator unable to command their artifact. That is to say, if a spiritual flying sword was struck by the Ying Thunder, it would immediately fall clattering to the ground, and could never be commanded again. Only after returning home, boiling it for hours in a yang-charged decoction made from snow lotus, ginseng, and other such treasures, could the corruption and Yin energy be washed away, allowing the cultivator to re-establish their blood bond with the artifact. Especially for living people, if even a tiny bit of Yin energy entered the body, the person would immediately collapse unconscious, unable to rouse. This worked even on the strongest physical bodies, because apart from the poison, it carries thousands of poisonous, vengeful souls and resentment that corrupts a person's very spirit. Only a strong cultivator who had stepped into the mystic art realm could use their magic power to stop the poison from spreading. Because each Ying Thunder required the deaths of thousands of people to refine, it was extremely precious. Even true inheritance disciples of the demon sect rarely owned one. Only magic omnipotent grand elders would refine them for their own use, and would never bestow one on their disciples. No one had expected Hongfen Taizi to possess one, and to detonate it at this critical moment to save his life. Bang! The moment the 6 Desires Ying Thunder exploded, everyone's faces turned pale with shock. Lu Kang and Hongyi Junju both wore expressions of utter despair. Fang Han watched as red light burst out in all directions, and within that pink glow hundreds of twisted, ferocious faces emerged. It was as if the gates of hell had been thrown open, releasing thousands of vengeful ghosts. Those ferocious faces were exactly the poisonous souls within the 6 Desires Ying Thunder. The poisonous souls wrapped around the several flying swords, seeping into the blades instantly. Then all the swords fell one after another. Clang after clang, they crashed onto the sandy ground, the sound echoing for dozens of miles. Flying swords, treasures that could not be exchanged for an entire city of 100,000 people in the mortal world, now dropped to the ground like scrap iron, completely worthless. Even the silver snake sword of Yuan Jinkong, a master ranked 10th on the mountain and river list, was wrapped by countless poisonous souls. It swayed back and forth like a drunkard, before finally losing all its spiritual energy and falling to the ground, revealing its true form, a long curved silver snake, its blade still sharp, still brimming with spirituality. Even lying on the desert sand, it wriggled non-stop, unlike the other flying swords that lay motionless as dead objects. Then thousands of poisonous souls drifted forward, lunging first at Senior Sister M.O. and her companions. Ah! 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 Several shrill screams rang out. Senior Sister Mo and the other inner disciples were struck by the poisonous souls and let out agonized cries, as if trapped in a nightmare, overwhelmed by utter terror. Moments later, all those inner disciples collapsed to the ground. But the Sun Chicken Supreme Yang rope in Senior Sister Mo's hand burst forth bright glow, and directly refined the poisonous souls that touched it. This rope treasure was a Supreme Yang artifact, perfectly capable of warding off poisonous souls. But after all, it was just a rope, not a defensive magical tool, so it could not protect her from all directions. When Senior Sister Mo let her guard slip for a split second, another poisonous soul drifted up from behind her and lunged onto her body. She let out a low groan, her body swayed violently, and dropped hard onto the sandy ground. At the same time, Prince Bao of the Great Dynasty, the other two princes and the two princesses were also struck by poisonous souls and collapsed to the ground unconscious. They were all outer disciples, none of them even owned a single spiritual artifact. How could they possibly withstand the poisonous souls released by the six desires in thunder? Fang Han also felt everything turn bright red before his eyes. Ferocious red faces lunged at him, wrapped around his body, trying to force their way into his brain. A sharp, needle-like pain stabbed through his skull. Thump! Thump! Hongi Junju and Lu Kang, who stood beside him, had already collapsed, struck by the poisonous souls, their fates unknown. Just at this moment, when the poisonous souls tried to invade his body, the Jiao-subduing Yellow Spring map activated once again. Fang Han immediately channeled a wisp of his consciousness and saw that all the poisonous souls that had invaded his body had fallen into the Yellow Spring River, trapped there. His own body was completely unharmed. But when he saw Senior Sister Mo and the other inner disciples all fallen, a thought struck him, and he also fell to the ground, pretending to be struck. I don't know how Hongi Junju is doing. She just saved me from Prince Xieyue's blade, and I can do nothing to save her. If only I could use the Yellow Spring map properly, but right now it only defends me passively. I don't know how to actively wield it. Right. I ate the 9 apertures golden pellet. My blood still holds its medicinal power. Could it counteract this poison? I might as well give it a try. In the instant he fell, he landed on top of Hongi Junju's body. At the same time he sliced open a wound on his wrist, and let his blood drip drop by drop into her mouth. This was a brainstorm born of urgency. The 9 apertures golden pellet was a pill refined by a demon emperor. It solidified the foundation and cultivated the core of the body. Fang Han hoped it would also have the power to suppress poisonous souls and protect Hongi Junju's life. Because Hongi Junju had saved him just now, Fang Han never forgot a kindness. He had to repay her. By this point, almost all the disciples had been struck by the poisonous souls from the 6 desires in thunder explosion. Only one person was still holding on stubbornly, Yuan Jiankong. He wore a spiritual artifact robe, colored deep green, called the Golden Green Pine Robe. It was woven from the essence of 10,000-year pine needles. It carried a pure green vital chi that allowed the wearer to fly through the air, and could also fend off poisonous souls. Countless pink poisonous souls wrapped around the green glow surrounding his body, but all were pushed back by the light, then refined and vanished. Silver Snake Sword. Relying on the protection of the golden green pine robe, Yuan Jiankong let out a wild roar. A look of reluctance crossed his face. He grit his teeth hard. The robe on his body burst forth an even brighter glow, wrapping him tightly from head to toe. Countless sharp beams of green pine needle light shot out, tearing the poisonous souls full of holes. He lunged wildly forward, intending to grab his silver snake sword and escape. Even though he was the 10th ranked master on the mountain and river list, with unfathomable cultivation, he had still not stepped into the mystic art realm. Most of his strength came from the silver snake sword. If he lost the silver snake sword, he would almost certainly lose his 10th place ranking when the mountain and river list was recalculated next time. Humph. You still want your silver snake sword? Hong Fantaizi descended from the sky. He flicked his pink flying sword in his hand. He did not strike directly at Yuan Jiankong. Instead it shot across the ground, scooped up the silver snake sword, spun it around, and caught it in his own hand. When Yuan Jiankong failed to grab his sword and saw it fall into Hong Fantaizi's hand, he let out a roar like a wounded beast. But he made a decisive decision immediately, glided outward, flew toward the edge of the desert, and escaped. By this time, the flock of cranes that had brought them here had also fled without a trace, most likely flying all the way back to Yuhua Mountain. The cranes were just domesticated mounts. Of course they would not stay and fight demons for the disciples. Humph. Cowardly trash. Cough, cough, cough. Hong Fantaizi landed on the ground, coughing nonstop. Fang Han secretly saw that he had several sword wounds on his body, clearly left by the sword formation just now. His robe was also a spiritual artifact, but after being struck by so many flying swords, the magic power of the robe had been cut through in places, letting the blades wound him. Little beauty, your situation is hopeless. Do you still intend to resist? Luckily for me, the Sun Chicken Supreme Yang rope isn't even yours. You can only bring out a fraction of its power. If it belonged to you, the Six Desires Ying Thunder wouldn't have been able to do anything to you. Hong Fantaizi stepped closer and closer to senior sister Mo. All the Yuhua sect disciples had fallen, Yuan Jiankong had escaped, only senior sister Mo remained. Holding the Sun Chicken Supreme Yang rope, she relied on its magic power to protect her heart and spirit from poisonous soul invasion, but she could not move her body at all. She could only watch as Hong Fantaizi approached step by step, completely powerless to stop him. Hong Fantaizi, you dare. Senior sister Mo suddenly shouted. Ha ha ha, what do I dare not do? Hong Fantaizi glanced up at the sky. The Sun Chicken Supreme Yang rope still bound the 10 flying Xianxias, who were now listless, too weak to fly or struggle any longer. They fell down and crashed onto the sandy ground far away. I'll capture you alive, heal my wounds, and then enjoy you properly. Hong Fantaizi stepped right up to senior sister Mo suddenly. He raised his hand to grab her, but senior sister Mo's eyes suddenly turned ice cold. She gathered all her remaining strength and spat out a bead from her mouth, which shot straight toward Hong Fantaizi's eyes. Waterfire Pearl. You actually have this thing too? But it's just a mere magical tool, not even a spiritual artifact. Hong Fantaizi's body burst out red light again, blocking the bead. Explode. Senior sister Mo squeezed the word out with all her remaining strength. Boom. The waterfire pearl exploded, tearing open the red light of Hong Fantaizi's artifact robe and blasting him several zhang away. Good, very good. After that trick, what other tricks do you have left? Hong Fantaizi rolled over and climbed up from the sand, a streak of blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. He stumbled forward and lunged at her again. By this time, senior sister Mo had no strength left at all. Her vision was already blurring. Hong Fantaizi looked like multiple overlapping shadows to her. She could only close her eyes and wait for death. Now is the time. Suddenly, Fang Han leaped up like a leopard. He flung out his hand, and his spirit wind sword shot out like an arrow, slashing straight toward Hong Fantaizi's neck. Hong Fantaizi was already seriously injured. His artifact robe's protection had just been broken by the waterfire pearl, and he had absolutely no guard against Fang Han. This was the rarest of opportunities, a chance that would never come again in 1,000 years. If he killed Hong Fantaizi, Fang Han would get the 5 spiritual flying swords here, plus the silver snake sword, plus the pink sword in Hong Fantaizi's hand, plus his spiritual artifact robe. He would become incredibly wealthy overnight.